I told my husband I needed a mental health retreat, then flew to Miami and climbed into a hotel bed with my ex while he stayed home taking care of our children. I expected him to cry, forgive me, and accept that I had made one little mistake. Instead, he collected every receipt, exposed every lie, and built a case that cost me my marriage, my home, my career, and primary custody of my own children. My name is Lysandra Vale. I was 38 and directed internal communications for North Star Strategies in Tysons, which meant I knew how to put useful language around difficult things. A cancelled benefit became a realignment. An unpopular policy became a healthier boundary. People call that spin when a woman does it well. At work, they called it leadership. Daniel and I had been married 10 years. We lived in Burke with Chloe, 11, and Max, 8, in a house with a maple tree that dropped seeds into the gutters every spring. In our first apartment, Daniel used to leave notes in a paper calendar reminding me to eat before presentations. After Chloe was born, we coloured each week together and laughed because Friday night had become library books and laundry. Then usefulness replaced wanting. If I said I felt alone, Daniel scheduled dinner. If I cried, he brought water and asked what needed fixing. Once I told him I needed to feel seen, and by bedtime, he had added a recurring block called US time to the digital calendar. Be fair, a woman can love reliability and still suffocate under it. Marcus Reed messaged me after our college reunion. He remembered the red coat I wore at 22. Daniel sometimes forgot I had changed my hair until Chloe mentioned it. 2 months of messages became an idea. Miami, 3 nights, no promises. I called it space. Marcus called it seeing what was still there. North Star reimbursed approved wellness retreats up to $1,500. Tessa Morgan had once sent me the public schedule for Coral Dawn Renewal Center. Breath work, guided journaling, beach meditation. I saved it. When I prepaid a South Beach hotel for 2 guests, I uploaded that schedule with the hotel invoice and certified that I would attend the program. The portal approved $1,486.20. I told Daniel at the kitchen table. I need a mental health retreat, I said. 3 days without being responsible for everyone else's needs. He looked at the family calendar. Which center? I need the address and emergency number. That is exactly the problem. I say I am near burnout, and you ask for logistics. We have children, Lysandra. Logistics are part of leaving. I told him his questions were making my recovery about his comfort. That quieted him. It usually did. He moved the yellow card marked Chloe reading Max Inhaler bedtime and fitted my trip between soccer, school pickup, and his mother's Thursday visit. The extra hotel confirmation was still in my tote on the morning of my flight. It listed 2 adults. I tore it once, dropped it into the kitchen recycling, and left before Daniel finished packing Max's lunch. At Dulles, Eleanor texted while I waited to board. Daniel's mother had found the paper when she came to collect the children. Her first message was a photograph. Her second asked why a retreat booking needed 2 guests. I wrote that the hotel had made a clerical mistake and asked her not to inflame Daniel while I was trying to get well. 3 minutes passed. Then Eleanor sent 4 words. I gave it to Daniel. Marcus waited outside the Miami airport in a white rental car with the windows down. He stepped out when he saw me, and for a few seconds I was not anyone's mother, director, or difficult wife. I was the woman in the red coat again, though Miami was too hot for sleeves, and Marcus had more grey at his temples than his photographs admitted. You really came, he said. I said I would. He lifted my bag into the trunk. And Daniel thinks this is a retreat? I hated how plain he made it sound. Daniel knows I need time away. The exact structure would only hurt him. Marcus accepted that because he wanted the weekend, not an ethics seminar. At the hotel, his name appeared below mine on the registration screen. I watched the clerk print 2 key cards and told myself a room was not a confession. The first afternoon, I staged proof. A rolled yoga mat came with the room. I put it near the balcony, set a cup of tea beside it, and photographed the ocean beyond my bare feet. I posted first quiet breath in years and tagged Miami, not Coral Dawn. That distinction seemed careful at the time. Daniel replied with a picture of Max at soccer practice. Chloe was behind him reading on the bleachers. No accusation, no question about Eleanor's paper. Under the photograph, he wrote that the inhaler had worked and both children said goodnight. I showed Marcus. He is performing calm, I said. Marcus looked at the screen. Or he is at soccer. I put the phone face down. Marcus had not flown to Miami to defend my husband. We ate breakfast in the hotel restaurant the next morning. He remembered that I hated papaya and forgot that I took coffee without sugar now. That should have told me something. Instead, I concentrated on the fact that he watched me when I spoke. Daniel listened for tasks. Marcus listened for openings. Nothing about the weekend was graphic. It did not need to be. We shared a room, held hands crossing Collins Avenue, and let the hotel staff call us a couple without correcting them. Each small choice was easy because I had already done the hard work of naming the trip something else. 2 days, 3 posts. One call from Chloe that I let ring until I reached a quiet place. She asked whether retreats had homework because Dad still made her finish her reading log. I told her healing was different from homework. Then Max took the phone and asked when I was coming home. Behind him, Daniel reminded him not to shout into the speaker. Sunday night, I said. Mommy just needs a little more healthy time. Chloe went quiet before she said goodbye. Children can make any reasonable sentence sound selfish by receiving it literally. Marcus paid for meals, but I had put the hotel on my card for the reimbursement. On Sunday morning, he sent $612, $40 through Venmo. His note read my half, South Beach with a sun icon. He had not changed the privacy setting. Tessa saw it before I did. She worked 2 offices down from me and had known about Coral Dawn because her cousin attended a real program there. She had also liked my first tea and yoga post. Under the second post, the one showing a journal open to a blank page, she wrote, "Why is Marcus Reed paying half of your South Beach room if this is Coral Dawn?" I deleted the comment in less than a minute. The screenshot was already in my messages. Bronwyn sent it first. My sister asked me to tell her there was an explanation before Chloe saw it. Eleanor sent the same image with no text. Then a co-worker I barely knew asked whether North Star's Wellness Fund covered couples' travel. I called Tessa from the hotel bathroom. "You could have asked me privately," I said. "I did. Twice. You did not answer." Marcus owed me money from something else. "You just attached my medical privacy to a public accusation. You used the Coral Dawn schedule I sent you, didn't you?" That was not a question I needed to answer. I told her she was stigmatizing mental health because the trip did not look how she expected recovery to look. "Do not do that," she said. "My cousin went there after a breakdown. That program helped her. You were not in it." The line disconnected after I said she had always been competitive with me. Maybe she ended it. Maybe my thumb touched the screen. Either version was better than staying in the conversation. Marcus sat on the edge of the bed when I came out. "Is this going to reach my clients?" he asked. "My family is being dramatic. It will disappear. Does Daniel know I am here?" "He knows enough." Marcus rubbed the corner of one key card against his palm. His attention had already shifted from me to exposure. I called that caution because rejection was not a word I planned to use in Miami. At the airport, Daniel finally texted, "We will talk after the children are asleep." No greeting, no anger. A meeting time, of course. The man could schedule the end of a world if the calendar had room. Eleanor's car was in our driveway when my ride stopped outside the house. She had taken Chloe and Max to sleep at her townhouse. The kitchen lights were on, but the rest of the house was dark. Daniel sat where I had left him 3 days earlier. The family calendar hung behind him. On the table were the torn hotel confirmation, Tessa's screenshot, and a printout of my public posts. "Were you in Miami with Marcus?" he asked. I set my suitcase by the door. "He was in Miami. We met for coffee. That does not make the trip about him." "Were you sharing that room?" "No." The hotel put 2 adults on the booking because he came up to help with my bags. He stayed somewhere else. Daniel looked at the confirmation. It lists him by name at check-in. Then he added himself so he could use the pool. Be fair, none of this changes why I needed to go. He asked one more question, very softly. Are you asking me to believe you? I told him belief was his choice, and that interrogating a woman after a mental health break proved why she needed one. He did not argue. He photographed each page with his phone, slid the originals into a plain folder, and took the digital family calendar tablet off its kitchen stand. That stays here, I said. The children's schedule is on my account too. He walked into the small office and closed the door. I heard his chair move, then his voice, too low for words. At the time, I assumed he was calling Eleanor to perform injury for an audience. Months later, a billing record in the disclosed documents showed a 43-minute call to Leah Price, a Fairfax family lawyer, beginning at 9:42 that night. I could not know that from the hallway. All I knew was that the office door clicked shut, and for the first time the family calendar was on his side of it. Chloe came home from Eleanor's on Monday wearing the same sweatshirt she had left in on Friday. She dropped her backpack beside the stairs and asked why a girl in her class had shown her a picture of Marcus paying for my hotel. I said adults online had misunderstood a private health matter. Daniel, standing at the sink, turned off the water. She does not need our explanation, he said. She needs us to keep this away from school. It reached school because Tessa posted it, not because I took a trip. Daniel told Chloe none of this was hers to solve and opened her reading log. She took the help. Give a child a pencil, call the room stable, never name who made it tense. By Tuesday, a boy at soccer had asked Max whether his mother had a beach boyfriend. Max cried in the car. The school counselor called Daniel first because his number was first on both emergency forms. I had approved them without caring about the order. By Wednesday, Daniel had found a licensed family counselor in Fairfax. I accused him of deciding without me. He showed me the provider list I had ignored and said we both had to sign before the first session. He had not cut me out, which gave me less to fight. North Star's compliance notice arrived at 8:06 that morning. It did not mention Marcus or adultery. It asked for proof that I had attended Coral Dawn, the original program invoice, and an explanation for why the hotel registered a second guest. Owen Patel from compliance sat across from me in a glass conference room. My manager joined by video and said almost nothing. This is a wellness benefit, I told Owen. Employees should not have to expose private therapy details to justify using it. We are not requesting therapy notes, he said. We are asking whether you attended the program named in your certification. I followed portions of the schedule independently. The claim says you are a registered participant. Coral Dawn has no registration under your name. I said the wording was confusing. He turned the screen toward me. The box I had checked read I certify that I personally received the eligible service described above. Plain language can be aggressive when someone wants it to be. Then he opened the schedule file. Tessa's forwarded email address remained in its metadata. I had changed the filer name, not the source. Did Tessa Morgan give you this document? He asked. She sent me public wellness resources. What I did with my own recovery is not her business. Owen reminded me that retaliation against a reporting employee would be a separate issue. My reimbursement portal was suspended pending the review. He asked for a written response by Friday. 1 meeting. 9 questions. $1,486.20. I kept repeating the amount because a number that small should not have been able to reach my office, my marriage, and my children's school. Tessa answered only through compliance. Please keep all contact about the claim in the review channel. Clean, bloodless, useful. At home, Daniel moved his pay into a new account and funded the joint account for the mortgage, food, and children. My card worked at the grocery store, not at the spa or boutique. Financial abuse now? I asked when he came in from Max's practice. He set the inhaler on the counter. Your salary still goes into your account. I am not paying your optional charges while we separate. The mortgage, utilities, and children are covered. You decided we were separating. You decided there were 2 versions of our marriage. I am deciding which one I will live in. For once, he sounded almost emotional. I used the word punitive, and the emotion disappeared. I invited Bronwyn and Eleanor to dinner on Friday. Chloe and Max ate earlier and watched a movie in the den. No adult details reached them from our table. Bronwyn arrived with her mouth already tight. Eleanor brought the torn confirmation in a clear sleeve, which was theatrical for a retired respiratory therapist. Daniel brought the yellow calendar card and a plain grey folder. "We need one agreed story before the hearing at work gets worse," I said. I took a legitimate mental health break. Marcus being nearby does not erase that. Eleanor laid the sleeve on the table. "It was a reservation for you and Marcus. I found it where you put it. That is the story I know. A hotel error is not evidence of an affair. You told me not to inflame my son before you knew I had shown him the name." Bronwyn stared at her plate. 3 calls, 2 cancelled lunches. One sister who no longer knew how to support me correctly. "Say what you came to say," I told her. "You asked me to tell Daniel you had been researching retreats for months," she said. "You had not. You asked me the week before Miami. I asked you to protect Chloe and Max from a marital argument. You asked me to lie." Daniel placed the yellow card between us. His handwriting covered both sides. Chloe reading conference, Max inhaler refill, soccer, Eleanor pickup, bedtime. All the ordinary things nobody applauds because families are expected to keep moving. "You want credit for parenting your own children," I said. "No, I want them to keep their life while we stop doing this in front of them." "Doing what? Asking you to acknowledge that I was lonely?" He looked at me long enough that I could hear the movie through the den wall. "I know I stopped telling you what I felt," he said. "I gave you plans when you wanted affection. That was lonely. It was not permission to make me finance a trip with Marcus and explain it to our children as medical care." There it was, his admission, delivered after it could help me. I told him therapy could have reached the same truth without turning our accounts into weapons. "I asked for counselling last year," he said. "It is on the calendar. You cancelled twice. Of course it was on the calendar." Everything he wanted to win later was on the calendar. He pushed the grey folder toward me. Inside was a divorce petition prepared by Leah Price, a motion for pendente light relief, and a proposed temporary parenting plan. No final order. No stolen house. Requests written on paper as if requests were already facts. Eleanor kept her hands folded. Bronwyn did not look at me. Daniel said service would be handled properly on Monday, but he wanted me to have time to call a lawyer first. I read the caption, then the numbered paragraphs. Joint legal custody. A structured schedule. No discussion of litigation with the children. Exclusive use of the residence pending the case. On the first page, under relief requested, Daniel had asked to keep the children in the house. I did not post the divorce petition. I posted a photograph of an empty chair beside the family calendar and wrote about emotional neglect. The caption was careful. I did not name Daniel, Marcus, or Miami. I wrote that women are often punished when private recovery no longer serves a husband's preferred routine. I wrote that control can wear a calm face. I wrote that my silence had been survival. By lunch, 400 people had shared it. Women I had never met called me brave. One North Star client sent a heart. The praise came fast enough to cover the fact that Bronwyn had not liked the post and Tessa had blocked me. Daniel answered once on his private account. "Lysandra and I are separating. Our children deserve privacy and a close relationship with both parents. I will address facts through the proper process and ask everyone who knows us not to involve Chloe or Max. No counterattack. No mention of the affair." His restraint made my post look louder than it had sounded in my head. I wrote a second caption about men who hide behind procedure. My lawyer, Celeste Grant, called before I published it and told me to stop. "Family court is not a follow account," she said. "Do not put the children inside your public argument." I did not name them in the post. Daniel did, because people at their school already know which family this is. I saved the draft instead of deleting it. That was compromise. The factual version kept arriving from people who had no reason to coordinate. Chloe's teacher sent attendance records showing Daniel at both conferences that year. The school nurse's log listed 6 calls to him about Max's inhaler and 1 to me, which I had missed during a client presentation. The soccer portal showed Daniel had registered Max, paid the fee, and attended every Saturday except one. My name was on the account too. I simply had not opened it since August. Bronwyn came to the house the following Sunday to return Chloe's library books. I asked why she was helping Daniel build a saint story. "He is not a saint," she said. "He is stiff, and he can make a feeling sound like an appliance warranty. But he is at the school. He is at soccer. He is there. So being boring makes him the better parent? No. Showing up makes him a parent. Stop asking me to pretend I did not see it. That was how my sister left me. Not with a betrayal. With a refusal to edit what she had watched for years. The children's counselor asked Daniel and me to attend one parent meeting without Chloe or Max. Her office had soft lamps and a basket of smooth stones that Max had apparently sorted by color. She said Chloe worried that loving one parent would injure the other. Max was having trouble sleeping on exchange nights, even though the exchanges had not started. Neither child needed adult facts. Both needed permission to love us without taking a side. "I have never asked them to choose," I said. The counselor opened her notes. Chloe had repeated something I told her after the petition arrived. "Dad is trying to use a judge to take Mommy away." Daniel's hands stayed on his knees. "Did you say that to her?" he asked. "I was explaining why I might need an apartment." "Did you say those words?" I was upset. She asked a direct question. He turned to the counselor and asked for written guidance we could both follow. Again, no explosion I could point to. Just another document. Dr. Nina Shah entered our case as a neutral custody evaluator by agreement of both lawyers. During my first interview, she did not ask whether I loved my children. She asked who Max's pulmonologist was, what nights Chloe had reading support, and how we handled homework when one parent worked late. I knew the pulmonology practice, but not the doctor's name. I said Daniel had gradually hoarded logistics so he could claim competence later. "Doctor?" Shah asked whether I had ever requested access to the digital calendar. I had been an administrator on it since Chloe started kindergarten. During the home observation, Chloe showed Dr. Shah the corner where Daniel kept library books due that week. Max demonstrated the spacer for his inhaler. I made snacks and asked about their feelings. Daniel reminded Max to rinse his mouth after the medication. No one announced a winner. The routine simply occurred while another adult took notes. My second saved caption went live that night. I wrote that a father could manufacture a paper trail while a mother carried the emotional life nobody recorded. The line felt exact. It was also the line Celeste had told me not to publish. Daniel's lawyer attached it to the pending motion the next morning. Celeste recommended a short consent order until the hearing. The children would stay in the Burke house for school nights. I would have Wednesday after school and alternating weekends. Neither side admitted any final custody position. The order only held the schedule still long enough for the court to review the evidence. "If I sign, it looks like I agree he is primary," I said. "If you refuse, the judge may impose a temporary schedule without your input," Celeste said. "You also need stable housing before the hearing." I signed because strategic women do not confuse a temporary concession with defeat. The apartment was 2 bedrooms above a dental office near Fairfax Circle. I bought twin lamps for the children's room and left the tags on until I knew whether they liked them. Chloe said the room was nice. Max asked whether his blue blanket could stay at Dad's because he slept there more nights. I said, of course. Healthy transitions require flexibility. Marcus waited 3 days before visiting. He stood in the kitchen while I explained that the apartment was temporary and the public attention would settle after court. "You said the marriage was over before Miami," he said. Emotionally, it was. The law moves slower. "You said Daniel knew about me." I said he knew enough to understand I needed space. Marcus gave a short laugh without humor. "That is not the same sentence." I told him he was focusing on wording because he was afraid of a real future. He looked into the children's half-furnished room, then back at the key I had given him 2 days earlier. "I wanted to see you," he said. "I did not agree to become the reason 2 kids leave their house. Daniel is the one making them stay there. And you are still doing it. You changed the subject of every fact." I asked whether he loved me. He said that was not the useful question. For a second, he sounded so much like Daniel that I wanted him gone before he could say anything else. He left my apartment key on the counter and said, "You told me there was nothing left to break." The Pendente Light hearing was in a fourth-floor Fairfax County courtroom. Chloe and Max were at school. Celeste sat beside me. Across the aisle, Daniel wore the navy suit from my father's funeral. Judge Miriam Cole said the temporary order would not decide the divorce, property, or spousal support. It would decide how the children lived while the case continued. Daniel's lawyer offered my Miami text first. Daniel thinks it is a retreat. Kids are covered. 3 nights are ours. Then came the hotel confirmation, Venmo payment, wellness posts, and North Star notice. Celeste objected that marital misconduct did not determine custody. "It does not," Judge Cole said. "I will not punish either parent for adultery. I will consider conduct only where it bears on parenting, credibility, stability, or a parent's support for the children's relationship with the other parent." That sounded fair until every fact began wearing one of those names. Eleanor testified about finding the confirmation and about the care she saw. "Lysandra came when work allowed," she said. "Daniel built his work around the children." She admitted loving her son and wanting him in the house. Bias is less useful when a person names it first. Bronwyn read my request that she say I had researched retreats for months. Asked about Daniel's care, she said, "He is hard to talk to. He is also the person packing Max's inhaler and checking Chloe's reading." Tessa had not come. Marcus confirmed the payment through counsel. My old audience was now a screenshot and an empty seat. The school records came in by agreement. Conferences, nurse calls, and soccer registration carried Daniel's name. On the evidence screen, 4 years of our family calendar matched them. Blue school blocks, green medical blocks, and orange sports surrounded my purple work dinners. The pattern predated Miami. The yellow card from the kitchen appeared as an enlarged photograph. Chloe reading Max inhaler bedtime. I had moved it with my own hand to make space for the retreat. Daniel described breakfast, homework, and Max's spacer. Then Leah asked about our marriage. "I was not emotionally present enough," he said. "When Lysandra told me she was lonely, I tried to solve it with schedules. I should have listened differently," Celeste stood. So her description of emotional neglect was not invented? The loneliness was not invented. The retreat was. That was my one clean accusation, and he could not deny it. He had made me feel like a task inside my own house. For several seconds, I thought the whole room had finally reached the only fact that mattered. Then Celeste asked why he needed primary physical custody if he believed the children needed both parents. "Because they need both parents without being asked to carry either parent's story," he said. "I will follow whatever time the court gives their mother. I will not tell them they are safer loving me." Dr. Nina Shah testified that both children were attached to both parents, neither feared me, and supervision was unnecessary. She gave me no diagnosis. Her concern was boundaries. Chloe feared hurting me by enjoying Daniel, while Max linked exchanges with conflict. Daniel communicated through logistics, but the children's routines already ran through him. "Is a color-coded calendar proof that someone is the better parent?" Celeste asked. "No," Dr. Shah said. "The records that match it show what each parent has actually been doing." I testified about birthdays, illnesses, and nights beside Chloe when she could not sleep. I had photographs and loving messages. A court date had not made me a stranger. Leah's cross-examination began with Max's teacher. I gave last year's name, then corrected myself. "Do you know the dose on his rescue inhaler?" "Not from memory. A number is not the same as comforting a child who cannot breathe." "Who attended his last 2 pulmonology appointments?" "Daniel." Reading support was Tuesday and Thursday, not Monday, as I said. I knew Chloe's favorite book and how she picked at her thumbnail when anxious. Leah did not dispute that. She asked who signed the weekly log. The records answered. Then she put my second public post on the screen. "After the counselor told both parents to keep the children outside the conflict, you wrote that Mr. Vale manufactured a paper trail. Why? Because emotional parenting does not leave receipts. Did you tell Chloe her father was using a judge to take you away?" I explained the move badly. I was frightened. "Did you correct it?" I had told Chloe not to worry. I had not told her the sentence was false. The distinction took too long to explain. Leah asked about Coral Dawn. Judge Cole allowed it only as it related to my absence, the story I gave the children and truthfulness during the dispute. I used the time for mental recovery, I said. Were you registered at Coral Dawn? No. Did you submit its schedule as if you were? I said the form did not account for self-directed recovery. Judge Cole told me to answer the question. Yes. One word. No healthy boundary around it. The ruling came after a short recess. Judge Cole discussed the children's ages, their bond with each of us, and the care both of us could provide. She found that Daniel had performed more of the consistent daily work before the separation and was more likely, for now, to protect the children's relationship with the other parent. She found that my public statements and what I told Chloe showed poor judgment, not a reason to erase me from their lives. Legal custody would remain joint. Major education and medical decisions required both of us. Daniel received temporary primary physical custody and exclusive use of the Burke house while the case was pending, so the children could keep their school and routines. The order did not award him the house as property. I received unsupervised parenting time every Wednesday after school until 8, and alternating weekends from Friday through Sunday. Both of us had to complete the Virginia Parent Education Seminar. Neither could discuss the case with the children or use them to carry messages. I was to continue individual therapy as Dr. Shah recommended, with no private session notes released to Daniel. Spousal support and the final division of the house were reserved for separate proceedings. The judge said the order could change if the evidence or the children's needs changed. Then she looked at me and said, "For now, the children returned to the family home with their father." The children had been at school, not court. An hour after the ruling, I drove to Eleanor's townhouse because I wanted to explain the schedule myself. Daniel was there. Chloe carried her backpack. Max held Eleanor's hand. Daniel checked the inhaler in his side pocket and opened the car door. "I can tell them," I said. "Tomorrow, together, with the counselor's wording," he said. "Tonight they are going home." Home meant the maple tree and their own beds. Eleanor hugged me, said she would see me Wednesday, and got into Daniel's passenger seat. Chloe waved through the glass as Daniel left with both children. I stayed beside my car until they turned out of sight. North Star held my final review that afternoon. From my apartment kitchen, I watched Owen, my manager and an HR director list what the audit confirmed. No Coral Dawn registration, its schedule submitted as my service, a repeated certification, and a second hotel guest who repaid part of the room. "This decision is not based on your relationship with that guest," the HR director said. "It is based on the falsified claim and your answers during the review." My employment ended that day. I owed $1,486.20. My email vanished before the call ended, leaving my face in a black meeting window. Be fair, I still had joint legal custody. The school copied me. Daniel had to consult me on major decisions and nobody supervised my time. But every night became a pattern I could count. Wednesday until 8 and alternating weekends. He did not own the children. He had the hours around which their life was built. The first full weekend was almost ordinary. Max left socks under the sofa, and Chloe complained about the apartment's weak shower. On Sunday, both watched the clock without saying why. At 6, I returned them to the house, then came back to 2 lamps still glowing in an empty room. On my first Wednesday, Chloe did homework while Max tested both bedroom lamps. At 7:30, he asked for one show. I said no because Burke was 20 minutes away and the order said 8. Daniel waited under the porch light, told them to hug me properly, and gave us room. I called that calculated in my head. Marcus's key stayed on my counter. 3 messages went unanswered. Bronwyn replied about Chloe's birthday gift and ignored my paragraph about Daniel. Tessa remained inside a directory I could no longer open. I kept the therapy appointments. Dr. Lin asked me to state a fact without explaining who caused it. The second week I said I lied about where I was, then spent the rest of the hour explaining why I needed to. The temporary order sat beside the evidence copy of our calendar. Blue school, green medical, orange soccer. My purple work entries ended on the date North Star fired me. Under, it was the yellow card I moved before Miami. Chloe reading Max Inhaler bedtime. I thought Daniel wrote everything down because he did not understand a family. The court believed it because the school, nurse, counselor, and relatives had lived inside the same version. Sometimes I wanted to call that truth. More often I called it the story he proved better. I could not yet tell whether the difference was remorse or pride looking for one last healthy name. The house was still marital property. The custody order was still temporary. Marcus was still gone, North Star still wanted repayment, and Daniel still put my Wednesdays into the calendar without missing one. I lied for 3 nights in Miami, and now a court schedule told me which nights I could kiss my children goodnight.